Hey guys, this is Clinton Jeff from UnleashThePhones.com, and today I'm going to talk to you about the HTC One M8 Eye. The HTC One M8 Eye is basically the same as the regular HTC One M8, except this time around HTC has replaced the ultra pixel camera with a normal 13 megapixel camera. There's still the duo camera setup though, and the phone still looks exactly the same and even has the same specs. If you read my review of the regular HTC One M8, you'd probably know that I was completely in love with that phone. In fact, I like the HTC One M8 so much that I've been using one for the entire year. Though that being said, I did find that the 4 megapixel ultra pixel camera was a little bit low resolution. As such, I was really excited to test out the HTC One M8 Eye, and here's what I think about it. Starting with design, the HTC One M8 Eye looks exactly like the regular HTC One M8. In fact, the only slight difference between the two is that the band on the back does not touch the camera module as it does on the regular HTC One M8 right over there. Apart from that minor difference, they look exactly the same in every way, and the HTC One M8 Eye also comes in gunmetal grey and glacial silver. I feel like the glacial silver is the better looking color and definitely looks more neater than the gunmetal grey. Of course, the glacial silver version does not have the brushed metal feeling of the gunmetal grey version, but I'd still choose the silver version instead. The HTC One M8 is almost entirely constructed out of metal, having apparently 90% of metal versus last year's model which had 70% of metal. The polished aluminium extends all around the frame, which is quite an achievement, and HTC has done a great job with keeping the amount of seams to a minimum. As a result, the phone feels very smooth and is very comfortable to hold as well. Because of the seamless construction and solid metal body, the HTC One M8 is very solid in terms of build quality. Measuring 146 by 70 by 9 millimeters, it's a bit tall for a phone with a 5-inch screen, but this is because of the BoomSound speakers around. But the smooth edges all around and the gentle curve of the rear casing means that it feels very ergonomical to hold. Naturally, the only downside to all that premium metal is that the HTC One M8 is a little bit heavy at 160 grams, but seeing how the Xperia Z3 measures 152 grams, this isn't that much heavier at all. Coming to the front of the HTC One M8 Eye, there are no capacitive touchscreens because they use on-screen navigation buttons. There's also the same signature 2 front-facing BoomSound speakers and the wide-angle front-facing camera at the top right over there. Taking up most of the space at the front is the 5-inch Super LCD3 display, which is at 1080p resolution, which equals about 441 ppi of pixel density. That might not be as super high resolution as phones like the Galaxy Note 4 and the LG G3, which all use Quad HD screens, but those screens come at the cost of battery life and performance and a price tag which is much higher. So I'm kind of happy that HTC chose to go with a 1080p screen instead. That pixel density is still really high and details are very sharp with text and icons all appearing distinct and clear. The display quality is still one of the better screens around and color reproduction is mostly accurate. Though that being said, I feel like the screen on the M8 Eye is slightly yellowish compared to the bluish screen of the regular M8. Outdoor visibility is also great thanks to the LCD screen, and the HTC One M8 Eye can go up to 489 nits of brightness, which means that using it outdoors in sunlight is not a problem at all, and viewing angles are also pretty good. Moving on to the rest of the phone, at the top you'll find the lone power button. The power button is easy enough to use, but would have been more comfortable if it was on the side instead. Another very important difference between the M8 Eye and the regular M8 is that the M8 Eye does not have an infrared port. Yes, in spite of it having the plastic up top, there is no infrared port in there. As a result, there's also no Sense TV app on board. This is really weird because the HTC One M8 and the M8 Eye have exactly the same specs otherwise. So yes, if you plan on using your phone to control your TV, you won't be able to do that with the M8 Eye. Moving on the left side you just have the nano SIM card slot. At the bottom you have the micro USB charging port and the 3.5mm audio jack for headphones, and on the right side you have the volume buttons and the micro SD card slot. As you can tell, the HTC One M8 is a sealed unibody, but the good news is that it's also slightly water resistant. The M8 has IPX3 rating, which means that while it might not be waterproof as such, it can still survive a splash of water once in a while. So it might be able to survive a rainy day, but definitely don't go swimming with it. Coming to the back, you'll notice the most peculiar thing about the HTC One M8 Eye, and that is the dual cameras at the back. Apart from that, there's also the HTC branding in the center, and that's about it. At the end of the day, very few companies are as daring when it comes to design as HTC is, and the HTC One M8 still looks like the best phone on the market right now. In fact, I would say this is a better phone design than even the iPhone 6. Moving on to hardware, as you'd expect, the HTC One M8 Eye is powered by exactly the same specs as the Asian version of the HTC One M8. That's a quad-core 2.5 GHz Snapdragon 801 processor with an Adreno 330 GPU and 2 GB of RAM. As you'd expect, performance is exactly the same and everything feels very snappy and quick overall with no slowdowns at all. The M8 never breaks a sweat whether you're running a processor-intensive 3D game or multitasking between apps. Performance is always solid on this phone. If you're into benchmark results, you can check out benchmark results over on the blog post at unleashthephones.com. Moving on, one of the slightly annoying things about the M8 Eye is that it comes with only 16 GB of internal memory, which isn't too much in this day and age, but thankfully there is a micro SD card slot available as well. Moving on to software, the HTC One M8 runs Android 4.4.4 KitKat with the latest version of HTC Sense on top, which is HTC Sense 6.0 with the Eye experience. The Eye experience only adds a couple camera related features which I'll talk about later on, but apart from that it's basically the same version of HTC Sense that you're used to. Everything looks very clean and minimalistic, and just like regular Android phones, there's a home screen where you can keep your widgets. There's also blink feed. Blink feed is a separate area of the home screen that HTC uses to pull in information that it thinks might be useful to you. You can pull in information from Instagram, from Google Plus, and a whole bunch of other places as well. Of course, if you don't find it useful, you can always just turn off blink feed, which isn't a big problem at all. Apart from that, the flat design of HTC Sense 6.0 is very nice and clean. In fact, everything looks so nice that you kind of feel like Android Lollipop was inspired by HTC Sense 6. I've spoken about the UI before, so I won't really go into detail, but as always, if you want more information about the UI, you can check out my review over at unleashthephones.com, where I have a whole bunch of screenshots and things just to show you how it looks. HTC Sense 6 also has gestures which come in very handy. For example, you can raise your phone up and swipe upwards to unlock the screen. Similarly, you can also double tap the screen to wake it, or you can raise the screen and swipe right to go towards blink feed. There are also a couple other motion launch gestures. For example, you can raise your phone and hold down a volume button, which will automatically open up the camera app. Similarly, if you're getting a phone call, you can just raise the phone to your ear to answer it automatically. These are very small little additions to Android, but they do come in very handy, and they make the HTC One a lot easier to use. Apart from that, the Android experience on the HTC One M8 Eye is exactly the same as the regular HTC One M8. So again, if you want more information about this, you can check out my blog post over on unleashthephones.com. Moving on to multimedia, HTC's Gallery app comes in very handy and groups all of your images according to the time and location it was taken. This is pretty cool because it will automatically create a little highlight video based on that location and what you were doing at that location. This comes in very handy in case you are hanging out with a couple of friends of yours and you want to make a nice fun little video about it. Speaking of which, the onboard video player hasn't really changed as much, and videos look great on the 1080p 5-inch screen. Not to mention, videos sound fantastic thanks to those dual front-facing speakers. Speaking of which, the music player on the HTC One M8 is also pretty awesome. It's a very clean UI and sorts your music according to album, artist, songs, or you can just create your own playlist if you want. Playing a song is also very easy, and you have all the basic controls that you expect. And there's also a really fun little visualizer that will automatically start when you play a song and pull in lyrics for it as well. This can come in very handy in very quick karaoke sessions. But where the HTC One beats all the other phones is the dual front-facing speakers. It's definitely one of the loudest and best speakers that I've heard on a phone so far. At the end of the day, no phone right now delivers a better audio experience than the HTC One M8 series of smartphones. Music through the headphone jack is easier, louder than any other phone that I've used so far, and the BoomSound speakers are pretty good in terms of quality and deliver a subtle level of bass that you can't really get on any other smartphone. Honestly, audio on the M8 is a fantastic experience. At the end of the day, HTC Sense 6 is a visual treat. The skin looks modern and minimalistic and doesn't slow down the UI at all. Everything's very fast and clean, and HTC hasn't thrown in a ton of unnecessary features that you probably won't use. All in all, HTC Sense 6 is my favorite UI on Android right now. Let's move on to the most exciting part about the HTC One M8, the 13 megapixel duo camera at the back. It's really interesting that HTC has decided to say goodbye to the ultra pixel camera. Instead, they've gone with the 30 megapixel camera, which has a f2.0 aperture, BDSI sensor, dual LED flash. This is similar to the HTC Butterfly 2. Now, I've spoken about the various effects that you can use with the duo camera in my HTC One M8 review. The secondary camera basically is used just to measure depth. So because of that, this allows you to do some very cool effects. For example, you can take a picture of somebody and then choose which part of the picture you want to focus on. There are also a couple other fun effects which I've detailed out on my blog post over on unleashthephones.com. Again, I've spoken about all of this on my HTC One M8 review. So instead, I'm just going to talk about what's new with the Eye experience. The Eye experience is a couple of very fun camera features that come in very handy. First up, there's face tracking. So when you're in a video call, the person you're having a conversation with will see a more focused view of you. Then if more people come into the view of the camera, people on the other end of the call will see the screen split into equal sized boxes so that they can view as many as up to 4 people at the same time. And the focus will be on these 4 people's faces even as they move around. It's a very cool feature and comes in very handy when you're making a video call to somebody. Then there's also screen share, where you can show somebody what's on your screen in a video call. This comes in handy in case you want to show somebody recent pictures that you've taken on your phone, or in case you just want to teach somebody how to use their phone. Then there's also auto selfie. This feature allows your front-facing camera to automatically take a selfie when you smile or you keep your face still until the white on-screen box turns green. You can also set it to take a selfie whenever you say the word cheese or capture, or just say the word action to start recording a video. There's also split capture. This allows you to take a split screen image or video using both the front and rear cameras. There's also a live makeup mode. This allows you to basically Photoshop your selfies and adjust how smooth your skin looks, all before taking a selfie. And lastly, there's face fusion, which is a little strange but allows you to fuse 2 people's faces. I'm not sure why this feature will come in handy, but it's in there. Because of the Eye experience, HTC has changed up the camera UI a little bit on the HTC One M8 Eye. So now when you hit the modes button, you will see the camera mode, a selfie mode, the split capture mode, crop me in, photo booth, and the pan 360 mode. But as always, you can also save any custom modes that you come up with as separate modes themselves. So I have a slow motion mode over here for video, and I've also saved the HDR mode separately as well. HTC's camera UI is definitely one of the best on Android so far. It's very clean, and there's a whole bunch of manual features that you can tweak just by hitting the right button. Shot to shot time is also very quick, where you just press the button, it focuses, takes a picture. I'm guessing focusing time is really fast because of the secondary camera at the back. So it's still one of the fastest Android cameras out there right now, but it's still a fraction of a second longer than the regular HTC One M8. In terms of camera quality, the switch to a high megapixel camera results in a definite increase in detail. This allows for greater flexibility when it comes to cropping pictures later on, and there's no loss of detail during that operation. Images in good daytime lighting are pretty good, though sometimes it can struggle to find a neutral exposure level. Once in a while, colors can also be slightly oversaturated, but not very often. In low light situations, pictures are softer in terms of detail and tone, but noise is still kept to a minimum. Overall, the 30 megapixel camera definitely makes the M8 Eye a lot more formidable, and the duo camera definitely allows for some very fun effects. That being said, the M8 Eye isn't as good in low light images as the regular ultra pixel camera is. I've done a separate post on how the ultra pixel camera compares to the M8 Eye's camera, which you can find at the link below in the description area. That being said, video quality is almost the same on both phones. The M8 Eye can record up to 1080p HD resolution, and everything looks really good. There's no optical image stabilization, but videos still generally look very pleasing. Again, I have a whole bunch of camera samples and video samples that you can check out right over at unleashthephones.com. Another annoying thing I noticed is that the front-facing camera on the HTC One M8 Eye isn't as wide angle as the one on the regular HTC One M8. This can be a little annoying in case you're a fan of selfies. Moving on to call quality. Call quality on the M8 Eye was pretty good. This is mostly because the top earpiece is also one of the BoomSound speakers. Voices come in loud and clear and noise-free, so you can hear calls even in the noisiest environments. Similarly, the dual front-facing speakers also come in very handy when you want to use the phone in loudspeaker mode. Similarly, callers on the other end of the phone call said that they could hear my voice loud and clear. Alright, coming to battery life, the HTC One M8 Eye is powered by the same 2600 mAh battery as the regular HTC One M8. Just like on the regular HTC One M8, this battery is pretty good and decent enough to last through an entire workday's worth of usage. But on heavy usage, you'd probably have to charge up the phone again before you head out from work for the evening. HTC's power saving mode also comes in very handy, and HTC also has an extreme power saving mode, which isn't that great because it basically turns your phone into a dumb phone. But to its credit, it does make that battery last for very long. Alright, to conclude, even today, 7 months since the regular HTC One M8 was announced, it's still one of the best looking phones out there right now. It's still one of the few smartphones today that boasts an impeccable, stylish, solid metal body, which results in it feeling very premium. Heck, I even think this looks way better than the iPhone 6. The secondary camera definitely helps with quick focusing, and the whole duo camera definitely helps enhance the look of pictures. Sure, low light performance isn't as great as the ultra pixel camera, but you do get a lot more detail out of the higher resolution 30 megapixel camera. That being said, HTC has a very solid choice of high-end smartphones right now, so you have other choices apart from the M8 Eye as well. For example, in case you want a high-end metal smartphone that has great low light picture quality, then you can get the regular HTC One M8. But in case you don't really care about the metal build quality and you still want a high-end smartphone, then there's the HTC One E8. But let's say you want a phone with solid metal build and you also want a decent camera, while you don't really care about low light pictures that much. That's where the HTC One M8 Eye comes in. At the end of the day, the HTC One M8 Eye is a very high-end, gorgeous, well-designed smartphone with great build quality. It's fast, the UI looks great, the screen is good, and the BoomSound speakers are incredibly loud. Sure, the 13 megapixel camera might not be super great in terms of low light image quality, but it is decent enough in daytime images, and the eye experience is really fun for casual photo takers. If you're looking for something great at low light pictures, you'll probably want the regular HTC One M8. All that being said, if you do get the HTC One M8 Eye, you're probably not going to regret it. As always guys, that's what I think about the HTC One M8 Eye. As always, if you have any questions about it, do let me know right in the comment section below. And as always, if you like this video, maybe hit the like button, maybe subscribe, because that would be appreciated. And that's about it. Thanks for watching guys.